Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my presentation on association between hematological parameters and outcomes following transcatheter aortic valve implantation. My name is Tikal Kansara, and I am one of the co-authors for this paper. So firstly, let's look at the background. Some basic hematological parameters like hemoglobin, neutrophils, lymphocyte, and platelet counts, which are commonly referred to as CBC, they are kind of universal test, very affordable, inexpensive test. They are readily available and they are commonly performed prior to and most of the time after any surgery, including TAVI. When these hematological parameters were studied in certain conditions like cancer, sepsis, atherosclerosis, and hospitalizations for heart failure, they were found to show significant prognostic importance. They were able to predict mortality, rehospitalization, and in some cases, MACE also. But when we looked at the literature, when we tried to find these parameters when they were applied for patients undergoing TAVI, the results were quite inconsistent, and that forms the basis of our study. The aim of the study is to investigate the prognostic role of certain hematological parameters like neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio, platelet to lymphocyte ratio, and anemia, that is the low hemoglobin, in patients undergoing transcatheter aortic valve implantation. The outcomes for this study are all-cause mortality, and the second is MACE, which we will explain further while we look at methods. So this is a retrospective cross-sectional study of 908 patients who underwent transcatheter aortic valve implantation at our Cleveland Clinic Hospital between 2017 and 2019. The hematological parameters were collected at less than 72 hours before the procedure and up to 72 hours after the procedure. So we had two sets of hematological parameters, that is pre-operative hematological parameters and post-operative hematological parameters. Both these parameters were individually studied for the outcomes. We looked at the follow-up period of 2 to 4 years for these patients with a median follow-up of 2.5 years, and the outcomes that included all-cause mortality and MACE, which was a composite of myocardial infarction, stroke, heart failure rehospitalizations that was collected. A Kaplan-Meier non-parametric method was used to find the association, and the adjustment for baseline characteristics was done with a multivariate Cox proportional hazard model. All the analysis was done using Stata 13.0. So let's look at the results of our study. As we said, we analyzed the preoperative and postoperative anemia, NLR, and PLR in our study. Instead of going through this text, let me just show you the table that would help you understand the results very easily. So our outcomes were all-cause mortality and MACE. We used the pre-operative and post-operative hematological parameters to analyze both of them. In the adjusted multivariate model, pre and post-operative anemia had 1.1 and 1.2 hazards ratio, which was significant but not that good. But significant association was found between pre and post-operative anemia with a hazards ratio of 1.5 and 1.6 with all-cause mortality. And also PLR and NLR with a hazard ratio of 1.4 and 1.6 and 1.1 and 1.6. Now you might look at what does NLR of 3.2 and more than 5 mean. So when we collected the NLR and PLR for pre-operative and post-operative patients. We looked at the median and we divided these patients into two groups. One is less than the median value of NLR and PLR, and the other is more than the value of the median value of NLR and PLR. And that's how we're able to derive at two groups. For the pre-operative NLR, the median was 3.2, and the post-operative NLR, the median was 5. So we divided these patients and compared the patients less than the median value of NLR to more than the median value of NLR. Okay. The same is for MACE, that we found pretty strong significant hazard ratio of 1.9 and 2.6 between pre and post of anemia with MACE. And similarly for PLR, we found 1.6 and 2.1 as a strong hazard ratio for MACE in patients undergoing TAVI.